Hey, my name's Brent, and I'm going to show you a lesson plan that I did on physical and chemical changes, and I have 4 experiments that I'm going to show you that you can do like in a science lab. First one I'm going to do is a physical change, and first you need some balloons, doesn't really matter what size, and a air pump, especially if you use like these small balloons. You can, if you use bigger balloons, you don't have to have this, but whatever, you know, take your balloon, blow it up. You can have them tied off if you want to, but then let them take their pencil and pop the balloon. Okay, then you can ask them, was that a physical or chemical change? This is a physical change, and the reason for that is because you still have the balloon. Nothing has changed chemically. You still have the physical balloon, it's just in a different shape. So that is a physical change. Then we'll move on over here to, this is a chemical change. What we're going to ultimately do is shine a penny. And so what you do is you're going to need pennies for your class, and they need to be dull. Don't need to be new pennies because it won't work. But each student needs to have 2 pennies. And then as a teacher, what you need to do is mix up a mixture of vinegar and salt, and you need 1/4 cup of vinegar to 1 teaspoon of salt. So let's go ahead and do this. Yep, that's about on 1/4 cup. And then we're going to need 1 teaspoon of salt. Ooh. That's about a teaspoon. And then just put it in here and mix it up. And this is good because if you're going to do it with a class, you're going to need a mixture anyway. And you need these little Dixie cups as well to give each student one. And it may take a minute to mix this up because you want to be able to sort of get it all dissolved in there and have it so it's kind of clear so they can see in it. Okay, that's pretty good. And then you just go around and, I mean, you ain't got to put a lot, I mean, just a little bit in here. I mean, if you can see, I mean, that's just barely, hardly any. But anyway, you'll tell each of your kids to take their pennies. You leave one out. And as you can see, they're both pretty dull pennies. You leave one out for comparison, and you throw the other one in the water. And if you can see that, it turns pretty bright pretty quick. For this video's sake, though, I'm going to make this kind of quick. Go ahead and get the penny out. And you need to give them paper towel as well so they can wipe off their penny. And then, as you can see how it's shiny? It's nice and shiny, and it was as dull as that one. And see, so you can use the other dull penny to use for comparison. Now, this was a chemical change because it took the salt and vinegar mixture reacted with the copper oxide on the penny that had formed over years to give it that dull kind of sense, and it had a chemical reaction what caused it to be shiny. And if you don't wipe it off, it'll turn green. So you can do a couple of examples like that and then show that another chemical reaction happened. Once it dried, it turned the penny green. But that is a chemical reaction. Okay, we'll move on over here. You're going to need your teaspoon again, so go ahead and wipe it off because you're going to need it on this one. And what I have here is a little plastic, these are water bottles. I have a funnel, a balloon, and this is baking soda. Now in here I'm wanting to say is just about 1 teaspoon of vinegar. It really doesn't matter, it'll still work. Just I wouldn't put too much because it'll cause it to get too overflowed. But anyway, take this off, okay, and you pass everybody a balloon out, and you pass around the baking soda. Now what you're going to do, you're going to take your funnel, put it down in the balloon, take your teaspoon, that's about a teaspoon, and just flatten it down in there, and make sure it's down in there. Now important, when you are putting this over the top of this, do not let the baking soda get down in there. So you want to let that kind of hang low, and you want to snap it over like so, and be sure that none of the air can get out. And you might want to let them do this in partners as well. But anyway, kind of just hold it with your fingers when you're going to take this and dip it up in there, get it all out, and watch. And the balloon blows up. And this is a chemical reaction because the baking soda reacted with the vinegar that was in there. And so it blew up this air, and you can ask them questions, you know, what is that? I mean, that's carbon dioxide is what it is that it forms. But it blows up the balloon because of the chemical reaction that it has. So that's a chemical reaction. And I just want to say right quick on these that, go back through these right quick with the penny. Be sure to remember you're going to need vinegar, 1/4 cup of vinegar to 1 teaspoon of salt, and you mix it up and just pour it in a Dixie cup. This one you're also going to need about a teaspoon of vinegar and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Now if you want the balloon to blow up bigger, you can put more vinegar and more baking soda, and it'll cause a bigger reaction. But with a clash, you probably don't want too big of a reaction. You might pop the balloon and it would just cause a mess. Now that we've done that, to what I did to end my lesson, I ended it on a physical change. But what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to pass around some Germ-X, because these kids have been messing with vinegar and baking soda and their hands are going to stink. And so pass them around some Germ-X and let them wipe off their hands real good. And then give each of them a paper towel, and give each of them a paper towel. And then I use Miss Fields cookies that were individually wrapped. Now, for money's sake, because they only come, there was only about 8 of these in a box, and it was about $2, so that's kind of expensive for that. But for money's sake, you can use Oreos or Chips Ahoy, you know, something that you can just open up and there's tons of them in there. But anyway, the point of this is you'll give them some cookies, and you tell them to take out their cookie, and then you tell them to break their cookie or crunch it or crush it or whatever. And okay, just say we break the cookie, okay, and then you ask them, you know, was that a chemical change or a physical change? And this is obviously a physical change because we still have the cookie. No chemical, nothing chemically was changed here in the cookie. It's still a cookie. It's just a different shape. And then after you talk about this a little while, I just let my class just eat it. I told them, I said, you know, good job for a good lab, and I let them eat the cookie. But that is some examples of some physical and chemical changes, and that's just a lesson that I did with my kids in a lab one day. And I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.